Okay, so today we are joined by Stephen from Fischy Music, one of my most fun clients, I have to say, that I worked with, and one of the last ones before COVID hit in the good old year of 2019. So Fischy Music, based up in Scotland. Stephen, do you want to introduce what is Fischy Music and like what was your campaign all about?
Well, we're all about singing songs with children and writing songs for children and writing songs with children about stuff that matters in their life. It might be around loss and grief, or it might be around fun things, or it might be about the environment. But primarily, it's all about singing and writing and expressing emotions through song.
And you decided to run a crowdfunder campaign to write 10 new songs. Do you have any reasonings as to why you chose crowdfunding to do this?
I can't really remember, Jess, why we. Um, I think I think because we do have quite a wide net of people across the UK that we've worked with in the past, and it was our roughly around about our 20th anniversary that we've been going for. We thought, you know, we've used we've written to lots of funding bodies before to ask for things, but in terms of there've been thousands of children who've gone through school that've sung our songs, and their parents and supporters of ours. We just thought it would be an ideal opportunity to actually potentially um, see if we could raise some money for the next project or the next bunch of songs. So I guess that was why we went for the crowdfunding, just because we thought there would be quite a number of people who would be interested in maybe supporting us in that way.
And of course, you raised £30,234 from 317 supporters, smashing your original goal, which was only about £28,000. How did you feel when you got that level of support? And do you remember any particular emotions or feelings that you had during that campaign time?
Well, I do remember. I remember I went down to, I think on the first day. I think you said at the start you really want to kind of get a lot of your money in the first, a lot of your funding in the first couple of days. And I went down to see um, England play in the Ashes. My only time I've ever been at a big cricket game at Old Trafford. And I remember trying to get on the internet. I could see that ching ching ching. You could see the kind of total going up, and I was just jumping around. But then over the next 2 months, there was a real roller coaster of emotions. And I remember a couple of times we came to you and we said, "Oh, I mean, is this an okay total to be at for this time?" And oh, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. Um, and and we were fine. And in the end, so at the beginning and at the end were the big pushes. There were, I think, was it week 2 or week 3? I think was a tough one. I think we were toiling a bit then, but then I think again it just seemed as if there were lots of different messages, or it was the same message that was going out, but lots of different angles that we were taking in that. And I think, I mean, it was a great thing. It was fun. It was scary, but ultimately it really helped us to do what we do. Um, um, and it enabled us to write 10 new songs and all the resources around that as well. So, but I must say, when we hit the 28, I think it was about 10 to midnight or midnight. My son-in-law, yeah, he just did it. He just did it. Hey! So I was dancing around the house.
It is always good to see those people that are following it as closely as you, right? And get as excited as you when you hit these milestones.
I mean, I can't exactly remember where it was. Yeah, so it was on the crowdfunder website, I think it was, and you could see so many donations, and it was just there were quite a lot of people who were actually literally clapping and cheering for us at that point. So that was wonderful. So it really galvanized quite a lot of people, like who really wanted us to get there.
Yeah. And so that was October 2019, which, as we say,
Oh
is like
boy. Wow.
2 years ago. Well, actually, your campaign closed on the 10th of October 2019, and we're filming this on the 11th of October 2021. So that is literally like a 2 year period. Obviously, we all know a giant pandemic came and crazed up the whole world. But what have you been up to over these last 2 years, and how has that project gone in terms of spending that money and creating those 10 new songs?
Um, well, we had a few months before, so that was maybe 4 months or 5 months we had before the pandemic happened. So we did, we already had a few songs well on their way, um, and we still could record songs. So even like one of the songs we did it from remotely. So we have a studio over in the west, and we sent it through a demo to our musician and producer friend over there, and he laid down a sort of backing track, and then we did the vocals at home, and we emailed them to him, and he put them together. So, and then we wrote a song. One of the songs we had 230 children or something like that from around the country. I can't remember how. It's maybe 200 from around the country sang in this one song called "We Won't Stop Singing," and we
Wow.
did a video of that, and that's been up on, that's been, had a lot of views. So actually, there was a lot of, our project certainly didn't sort of flag, because a lot of it was done actually kind of online and either in person in the studio or over the net. Um, but obviously, we couldn't go out there in the same way and try out the songs as we normally would,
Hmm.
with a group of children. So there was one song. There was a group of children from a school down in Gala Shields, and we did they were aged 11. And the actors are consultants, and they said, "Oh, we like that line, but not sure about that line there. Have you thought about this here?" So we did quite a lot of that kind of stuff over Zoom or over Teams over the
Mhm.
time. So yeah, um, we've got one more song to write.
Yeah.
So 20 minutes ago, my colleagues and we decided we're going to do a leaving song, sort of moving on from one place to another. So that's our last song we need to
That's a
write and
good one
record.
to end on.
It is, yes.
That's cool. And then over this time when you've been making these songs and obviously had to transition more onto online for that feedback and everything, how have you guys found that in terms of getting those reactions from the children? Like, is it as easy as doing it in person, or have you found that maybe there are some barriers that you've had to interpret things in different ways or such?
It's kind of partially depended. I mean, generally, it's much better to meet up with a group of children, be in the same room as them, um, and you can much more judge, what's going on in terms of body language. We've worked with classes of up to 25 or 30 children, and sometimes you just see kind of fuzzy, just kind of class of that. Then you'll ask a question, and then a child will speak, but you can't hear what they're saying. So we had to devise things where if you speak, you come up to the mic, and then you actually look in the camera, and sometimes we're a bit shy at doing that. So ideally, you have your own individual devices. We've even thought about potentially sending out equipment, mics and speakers and laptops and things like that to schools so that they can have a really good quality experience. But I think like lots of people, you were kind of um, drag, sort of screaming and shouting into this, but we've actually developed something we can use. We did a concert with a online concert with some kids from California one
Wow.
Saturday, and they were dancing around in the sun, and we were kind of in our studio, kind of in Edinburgh in Scotland. So it shows you that, that would have cost them, a couple of £1,000 if we'd had to fly over there, but for 100, 200 quid,
Yeah.
we did that. So it's actually, I mean, you can do it, but I must say, getting back to face with children is what it's all about, really.
That's good. And obviously now we were just chatting earlier and you said you can go into playgrounds.
Yeah.
now, so you're starting to get that face-to-face interaction now. Have the new songs now been played to the children in these more face-to-face settings, or are they still under wraps at all?
No, they've been used. So the particularly the ones we wrote earlier, uh, have been used. Some of them have already had several thousand plays. So we've used about 4 or 5 of them a lot over the last year, and they've become quite. One or two of them have become some of our favourites, which is great because you sort of think, a bit like, you know, Queen and Bohemian Rhapsody. It's quite hard to write another Bohemian Rhapsody, and not that we've ever done that, but it's kind of, you think, are your best days behind you? But it's actually really nice when you see there's still life in the songs and children still want to sing them. Um, some One or two of them have not been really extensively trialed yet, but that will happen over the. So our plan is by the end of November, I think, is to do a kind of private sort of streaming album of the 10 songs that are
Nice.
like the 317 people who supported us will have access to that. And then next year we'll probably do a Spotify album of the 10 songs, and I mean, I don't think we'll call it the Crowdfunder album, but we'll call it 10 New Fishy songs or something like that.
That's cool. And then when you're playing these songs and everyone is listening to them, like, you guys have been around for like 20 years now, more than 20 years, and you do make timeless songs that last for years and years and years. How are the songs that you made from these 10 Fischy songs, like, are any of them kind of pandemic related? Was it quite hard to not let what was happening right now potentially affect the
Good
songs,
question.
so that they do stay timeless, and in 15 years time, when the pandemic is hopefully just a distant memory, they're still as popular as they are today?
That's a really good question, that, and something we grappled with. That I think back to a song we wrote in the Millennium. It was about finding peace, starting a new millennium, and it was I thought it was a really good line, but it lasted a year. So I think we're really careful. Like, we try really hard not to have specific, unless it's a really good reason, to have specific references to things. Um, so we wrote a protest song, but it was a kind of just getting a bit angry about, when life seems unfair, when the world's in a mess, when people couldn't care less. We're not going to stop singing, we're not going to stop caring, I'm not going to stop trying. And a lot of that, probably when we told, well, we can't, you're not allowed to sing because singing's bad for you. Well, we're going to keep singing. Maybe with masks on, or maybe in homes, but so I think we're really the kind of process. So it's taken 2 years to do these 10 songs, and that's kind of over the last 23 years. We've produced a sort of album or collection of songs roughly every 2 years, because from that kind of the writing stage, or the kind of coming up with the idea, either kids telling us, we'd like something about this, and we go away and we come back and say, what do you think of that? All right, we'll change that. Um, in order to have a song that can be sung for many years and will actually stand the test of time, then I think you need to put the hard graft and the thought and I think if you don't road test it properly, then you've got a short term song.
Yeah. Yes, it reminds me of my friend and her 5-year box. So any kind of decision she has that's a bit life-changing, like a tattoo or a piercing, she puts it in her 5-year box and is like, I'll return to it in 5 years. And if I still want it then, then I'll get it. And some of them she's like, I am so glad I put that in the box.
Has she got any tattoos?
No.
She doesn't. Okay.
She doesn't. None of them have passed the 5-year mark.
Have they not? That's quite a clever idea, actually. Yeah.
I know.
I guess you really get a chance to really think about, do I really, really want this?
Yeah. And I
Or
guess
is this really going to work?
Yeah,
Yeah.
same with your 2-year plan. Like those ideas that you have in the beginning, making sure that they're still relevant 2 years on, and by relevant, not just to that one time, but to different things. I mean, you've got so many situations that came up during lockdown, isolation or being apart from friends or family,
Yeah.
and like you said, the unfairness of it all, that yes, it can be to do with COVID, but it could also be with just your parents not letting you go on a school trip. That could be unfair, or something like that, and being apart from your friends and family if you had to move schools or locations or anything like that. Those key things that you're singing about can be with different elements of life, which is what make your songs so great and last so long.
But I think a lot of the things, a lot of the issues that we write about, they kind of remain, like kids want to be with friends, they want to have fun, they want to be real. Um, um, you know, yeah, there's kind of wondering about life and asking questions and getting angry and stuff like that. Bullying, self-esteem. I mean, they've been around for thousands of years. They just maybe had different kind of titles: emotional literacy, or resilience, or transition, or um, all these different kind of things. But essentially, it comes back to, how do you feel about yourself? How do you treat other people? It's kind of, things haven't changed much. So I think if you kind of keep it to the kind of basics, but maybe let the times dictate a wee bit the kind of like the style. I mean, again, even in that, you have to be quite careful in terms of the style. Is that, if you go to 80s, or you go to if you go to a certain kind of, like Ibiza kind of style, or you go to, a, I don't know, a kiddie style or whatever, it can actually inhibit you to that 2 years or 3 years.
Mm.
So I think sometimes it's almost like kind of trying to find a more generic sound rather than a kind of get the latest sort of type of sound that's around, or style. You
Yeah,
know what
so
I mean?
there's so many things to think about, not even just the lyrics, but also the music and the tempo and all of those things. So it's good that you take 2 years to do it then.
I know. I think things. I remember it was Ellen MacArthur who wrote a book about, sailing around the world. Remember her talking about um, when she was writing her book. Um, her granny said to her, write some stuff, put it away in a drawer, take it out a while later, and see if it's matured, or see if see what happens. And I think you need to do that. I think you need time to, write it, try it out, go away from it, come back to it, and see, what's in this. Uh, so it's a fun process, but it's quite taxing as well.
And do you think your crowdfunding supporters are supportive of this, in terms of doing a bit, going away, seeing how it works out, and coming back to it? I mean, I think there's a lot of people that run crowdfunding campaigns and kind of forget about this after period, which you're in still, and think to themselves like, like I've got to just put something out there as fast as possible to appease these backers and show them their money was spent well. But have you had any complaints or annoyed
Not that I
people?
know of.
I mean, I would say based on
Maybe
my
some people have. No, we haven't. But I'm really keen as soon as possible to get the songs out there, because I'm aware now that that's 2 years gone through. But I think probably I don't- you know probably half the people who gave to us that I kind of had some knowledge of before, and half I didn't know. So, but I'm hoping that people will be aware a bit that, in terms of, I think we stated in the process that it would be a 2 year thing.
yeah.
Um, that it's not something you can write something just overnight that's going to be effective. So no, we haven't had that, but I'm feeling the pressure now from myself to actually get them out there, and to be able to say thanks again, for enabling us to do that.
Do you think you'd feel the same pressure if you got that money from other sources? or do you think it's because of kind of the sheer number or the fact that they're regular everyday people like us that gives you that pressure?
I just felt there was an investment, and there was a kind of a, it was kind of people were voluntary, like we put out all these messages to people, and we got anything from, I don't know, £5 to £1,500 from individuals. Um, that it just seems as if they were really, really happy to do it. I don't think I didn't get any sense anybody was sort of doing it because there's one wee girl. I think she did she get. Oh yeah, it was one of the things we went to. She managed to get 33p together.
I think
Do
I
you remember
remember,
that?
and we had a conversation, and I was like, "You
Yeah,
can't put pennies on.
thir
Like, you have to round it
33p,
up."
and that was almost the best. Like 33p or 1,500 quid. I mean, she just gave everything she had. So I was really, thanks for that 33p, which was the opening bar of the first song. It's great. But the thing was, Jess, as well, that it wasn't just the writing and recording of the songs, but we also did videos of us doing sign language to them, music scores, teaching notes, ideas, connections to health and wellbeing organisations. So it was a whole package. That's why it cost so much, because there was video costs involved and
Yeah,
various other things. So
that's cool. And then would you crowdfund again for like the same type of project in terms of creating the songs, or how do you think you'd want to fund creating new songs in the future?
um, I think it would be a while before I would do the big crowdfunder again. But in terms of, I think I think I said earlier that for me, it was much more than getting 31 or £30,000. Um, and there's a massive thing of the confidence of, getting so many people behind us, and, people who were just, really happily giving that money. Um, I've lost my train of thought. Um, but it just seemed as if there was. Sorry, ask the question again.
Would you crowdfund again to make more new songs, or how would you go down your funding route for that?
I think I would in the future. Yes, I would. But we might wait to our 30th, something like that, because it was a really big, it was a really, really big undertaking. And we were all involved in it, and we utterly committed to it. And it was a great process, but it was probably a year's worth of preparation, I would say. We met you first of all. Um, so yeah, yeah, I would definitely do it again, but I think we'd wait a few years to do that. But I think again, it really focused us on what what is our thing, and I think that's what you pushed us towards all the time. Now let's boil it down, boil it down, boil it down. You're not giving towards a project. What is the thing what is the thing that you do? What is your USP? And I would say that was a really great exercise of us actually working out what is this thing that we do. So it was much more than money, actually. It was about focusing and being strategic and being, you know, targeting, the thing that you do.
And when you say about the confidence that it gave you, uh, what do you think like other charities could benefit from that confidence angle in terms of if they were to run a crowdfunding campaign as well? Because I still think a lot of people think it is just the money.
I think just sort of there was confidence in our message, and I think through the we've got kind of advertising, or we've got marketing stuff, or even just what is Fishy Music now. We developed a whole bunch of visuals and things that we'll use for years to come. So it was much more than just that. It was telling our story, that um, very much the why. So the why was the big thing rather than the what or the how. So a lot of what you helped us with was about the why, and that gave us big confidence in not just telling people, oh, so when someone asks me now, so what's Fishy Music? Well, we believe in the transformative power of song in children's lives. So it's actually, songs can change children's lives, rather than, oh, we do music workshops and we do songwriting and blah blah blah. So it changes your it makes you more focused, it makes you more intentional, and it gives you a lot of stuff you can use in the future, and also just to know that these people are behind you. um and some of the comments we got, I mean, that was, for me, the comments were much better than the money, just in terms of the impact that, from past songs and experiences children had had in the past. So it's much, much more than getting money.
That's great. And then if you had like 3 top tips for either songwriters or charities that were going to go and do a crowdfunding campaign, what would they be?
I would say, first of all, have fun. So I think the best stuff that we did was when we were just playing and had fun with our social media and stuff like that. So I think, looking back on, a lot of it was fun. Um, keep going when it gets tough. They'll definitely. I remember you saying, "Oh, weeks 2 or 3 is it's always a hard one," and that was helpful to know, because I thought it's only 20 quid come in this week so far, and we've still got 10 grand to go. So kind of keep the heat. um, and yeah, what would my third thing be? Yeah, just expect to get a lot more out of it than just the money. Like, use it as a kind of way of almost kind of getting your marketing for your whole organization going, and in some ways a lot of your strategy. Potentially you could actually, well, actually you do a huge amount of strategic work, and you did with that with us over months, was actually helping us to work out a strategy towards putting across what we do, and helping us to focus on what we do best. So,
I mean, it makes it easy when your client is as good as you guys are and you are actually doing really great things.
well, well, I'm glad you think so. That we it was a fun thing. As I say, it was also scary as well, but I think you gave us a lot of confidence. And um, I would, I think, if you're clear about who you are, or if you're willing to work out, what is it we do, then I would recommend crowdfunding, um, to other charities. It certainly is, big had a big impact on Fishy, at a time. Maybe a fourth thing I would say is, maybe do a crowdfunder at an anniversary, or a particular time, rather than just pull it out of, might be, oh, come out of lockdown, or fifth anniversary, or third anniversary, or 10th, or something like that. So, on our 20th, it was a kind of obvious thing to do, we thought.
Yeah, because you're already going to be doing a lot during that time anyway, with your marketing, with your branding, with your messaging, all of
Yeah,
those. May as well get some money whilst you're doing all of that.
yeah, and we did.
You did over £30,000.
And you came up to, we met you a couple of times, and that was fun. And just remember that day you come up, you spent the day, or half the day went out for, a few of us went out with lunch, and it was just fun.
Amazing
Yeah,
views. I still remember those
yeah.
views. And
From
you
the
guys
peak,
went busking as well. You went
yeah.
busking on the beach, I think it
Oh, we
was.
did. Yes, I think we made about £22,
Well
but I had a
done.
swim afterwards, which was great. That's
Always good.
yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing all of those insights. I feel like anyone thinking about crowdfunding, or even with a live campaign right now, is going to learn so much, because you have focused on the bit that most people brush over. Most people think they've got the money, it's over, go get on with the project, and that's it. But I think sharing your wisdom of how this 2 years has been and all of the other things that crowdfunding's managed to give you during this time will really give people something to think about when they're actually doing the after campaign, and making sure that that is as strategic as the first two parts as well.
Well,
So
a wee advert for you. I mean, you haven't paid me to say this, but I mean, I would genuinely recommend anyone out there who's thinking about crowdfunding. Jess is blooming good. She really knows her stuff, and I mean, you do it in a kind of light touch way as well. So you like it's fun, but we just know that what you say, like you know what you're talking about. So anyone, if you're swithering, don't swither, just do it.
thank you.
Nay swithering.
And that, that's going to clearly be like the headline of the video now.